Today, we want to tell you a story. It's one that really grabbed people across America. It's a case where, what seems like this heartbreaking story actually hides something. Something truly sinister. We're talking about Kouri Richins, a woman who just a couple of years back seemed like this pillar of strength. She even wrote a children's book. It was called Are You With Me? It was meant to help kids cope with losing a parent. This was after her own husband died suddenly, but then things took a completely unexpected turn. An anonymous email just out of the blue shows up in the inbox of a TV show she was on. And it drops this bombshell, this grieving widow, the author. She was actually the one suspected of murdering her husband. So the big question is, did Kouri Richins really kill her husband? And then almost straight away, use his death to write a book. We're going to unpack all the chilling layers of this really astonishing case in today's deep dive. Let's start by talking about the man at the center of this tragedy, Kouri Richins. He was 39 years old, came from a really prominent, wealthy family in Utah.
They were known for all sorts of businesses, construction, stonework, and a lot of charity work too. But, despite all that money, Eric was apparently very down to earth. Frugal, loved being outdoors. He apparently preferred being out on the farm, actually getting his hands dirty, working right alongside the farm hands, even feeding the animals himself. He loved motorcycles too. Drove them fast, apparently had a few accidents, but always got back on. And he was ambitious. He decided to learn fluent Spanish just so he could talk easily on his trips to Mexico. That takes dedication. After college, Eric started a business, C&E Stone Furnishing, with his friend Kouri Richins. And this wasn't just any old stone company. They did unique custom stuff, fancy fences, intricate fireplaces, you name it. Became really successful, got big contracts, government, private, brought in a lot of money. A lot of money.
What's so striking here, I think, is how Eric's sort of grounded personality and his success paint this picture of stability, right? Almost the classic American dream. It just makes what happened later feel even more jarring. It shows how even, seemingly solid lives can have this hidden turmoil underneath. Really insidious stuff.
Yeah, exactly. His life seemed on track. He did have a first marriage, though, to a woman named Julie from 2005 to 2009. It ended in divorce. And then, tragically, Julie died in a car accident about 2 years after the divorce. Eric took it really hard, apparently became quite reclusive for a while. Then one day, a totally random meeting changes everything.
Yeah.
It happened at, of all places, Home Depot. Eric was a regular there. He always went to see this one cashier he liked, Linda, an older woman he respected. So one day, he's in Linda's line, and she notices him looking over at another cashier. And Linda kind of playfully calls out, "Eric, you don't have to check out here today. Go over there." That other cashier, that was Kouri. She was new, only been there a few days. Apparently very beautiful, everyone thought so. She'd worked in real estate before. So this meeting, thanks to Linda, leads to them dating. They fell in love, got married in 2013, and they settled into this huge multi-million-dollar mansion in Kamas, Utah, living a very luxurious life. Okay, but here's where a really critical point comes in later. Before they got married, Kouri signed a prenup. Eric's family pushed for it.
His first divorce, without one, cost him a lot financially. Kouri seemed fine with it, signed it without a fuss, which, probably eased any worries that she was just after his money. She seemed hardworking.
But here's the crucial detail, and it connects directly to the motive later on. That prenup, it only really covered divorce, right? Not death. That's a pretty standard legal distinction, but it created this massive financial incentive, a loophole, basically. If Eric died, his assets, even the ones he had before marrying her, would legally go to Kouri. The prenup wouldn't apply. And this detail, as we'll see, becomes absolutely central. It's a stark reminder that even careful financial planning can't always protect you from, personal betrayal.
Right. So after they married, Kouri's real estate career took off, selling luxury homes. And Eric helped her a lot, used his connections, his money. He was really supportive. They had 3 kids together. And by all accounts, Eric was a really dedicated dad. Loved taking them places, teaching them about hard work, not spoiling them, making sure they knew the value of earning money. Kouri also started her own house flipping business. She'd buy properties, Eric's company would do the renovations, she'd sell them. And apparently all the profits went straight into her company. So on surface, everything looked great, thriving even. But, beneath that shiny surface, things started cracking. Like any couple working together, sure, they had disagreements, but one particular issue became a huge point of conflict. Kouri desperately wanted to buy this enormous unfinished house. It was in a really remote spot, described as in the middle of nowhere. No proper road, just a clearing. And the price tag was huge, 70 million baht, which is about $2 million US. Eric was totally against it. He thought it was a terrible investment. Bad location, hard to get to. He was convinced it would lose a ton of money. He actually told his sister, Kate, point blank, he would never buy it. called it a foolish project. And remember, Eric was the one putting up the money for these deals, so his financial risk was significant here. But what's even more disturbing is what Eric started telling his sister, Kate, in the 3 years before he died. These were secret conversations. He told her Kouri had been secretly taking his money since way back in 2016, about 13.5 million baht, or $380,000 USD, cash withdrawals, credit card debt in his name. He hadn't known at first. When he confronted her, she apparently apologized, said she'd stop, but he kept finding small amounts missing. He got so worried about her taking everything if something happened to him, he took some really drastic steps. He secretly changed the beneficiary on all his assets to his sister Kate, not Kouri. He even told Kate something really chilling. He said, "I could die anytime soon. I don't know." Just awful. And he changed his life insurance too, the original 4 policies. He changed the beneficiary from Kouri to his business partner, Kouri Richins, to protect the business, he said. But Kouri, she just wouldn't let it go. She tried to change the life insurance back to herself, got onto his laptop, into the company system somehow. Eric only found out because he got an email notification. He immediately changed it back to Kouri. I mean, the nerve of that is just staggering. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, the investigation found 2 more life insurance policies Kouri had secretly taken out on Eric, without him knowing. So now there were 6 policies in total, worth around 80 million baht, or $2.2 million USD. Eric found out about these too, through his contacts, and he got really scared. He told his sister he was deeply concerned about what Kouri might do, and Kate also told investigators something terrifying Eric had told her. He suspected Kouri had tried to poison him before. On a trip to Greece 3 years earlier, he said Kouri gave him some juice, and soon after he got violently ill, vomiting, blacking out, woke up feeling totally out of it. He explicitly told Kate he thought Kouri had drugged him then. It's just a horrible foreshadowing. Okay, so let's jump forward to the night it happened, March 4th, 2022. Around 3:00 a.m., a 911 call comes in. It's Kouri Richins. She sounds calm, reports her husband Eric is unresponsive, says he's stiff, lying at the foot of their bed. Her story was that she'd been sleeping in their son's room because he had a nightmare. She came back to their bedroom and found Eric like that. She told the dispatcher, and later the police, she tried CPR, but he wasn't responding. But the police noticed things right away that seemed off. Kouri said she did vigorous CPR, right, but there was no blood on her clothes, and no real signs of intense resuscitation efforts on Eric. He did have a little bit of blood around his mouth, just a trickle, but not the kind of mess you'd expect if someone was really trying hard with CPR, especially with mouth-to-mouth potentially.
Yeah, that's a key point. If she'd really performed CPR as she claimed, especially with blood present, you'd expect some transfer, some smudging, something. Its absence was definitely a red flag for the officers on scene.
Exactly. That was the first big question mark. And what made them even more suspicious was Kouri's statement about the night before. She claimed they'd been celebrating because Eric had finally agreed to buy that 70 million baht house, the one he hated. She said they had dinner to celebrate, went to bed, then she went off to sleep with their son. It just didn't track with what Eric had told his sister. But here's the kicker. The thing that really screamed premeditation to investigators. Just one day after Eric died, Kouri signed the purchase agreement for that controversial house, the $2 million one. Given how strongly Eric opposed it, making that move so quickly, it set off huge alarms for the police and, of course, Eric's family. Then the autopsy results came back, and they were definitive. Eric died from a fentanyl overdose, an acute overdose. The amount in his system was 5 times the lethal dose, and it was taken orally. Eric had zero history of drug use, no medical reason for fentanyl. The conclusion was unavoidable. He was poisoned.
That toxicology report is just devastating evidence. 5 times lethal, taken by mouth. For someone with no drug history, it's not an accident. It points directly to a deliberate act. And the oral route, it suggests it was likely disguised, right? Maybe in food or drink, which echoes Eric's own fear from that Greece trip. It all starts to line up in a very chilling way.
Absolutely. So in the aftermath, Kouri, she goes public. Big time. She writes and publishes that children's book, Are You With Me? Almost exactly a year after Eric's death, March 7th, 2023. All about a kid coping with losing a father. And she goes on a promotional tour, appears on TV shows like Good Things Utah, tearfully talks about her grief. She gets a lot of public sympathy. She's also posting tributes to Eric constantly on social media, really cultivating that image of the heartbroken widow. But like I said at the start, that whole image shattered when the anonymous email hit Good Things Utah, Inc., exposing her as the prime suspect. Public opinion flipped dramatically. Sympathy turned to, well, horror and outrage. Meanwhile, investigators were digging into the digital evidence, the forensic breadcrumbs that really exposed Kouri's planning. First, they checked her Pinterest account. Expert, what did they find there from about 6 months before Eric died?
Well, this is quite telling. They found pins, saved images of sexy and provocative wedding dresses. Now, 6 months before your husband dies unexpectedly, planning a wedding. It strongly suggests she was already envisioning a future without him. It paints a picture of someone detached, already planning her next chapter. It's deeply unsettling.
Yeah, unsettling is putting it mildly. And then there was her Google search history, which is just bone-chilling. She searched for things like, how much fentanyl to overdose a person? Also, do you still get life insurance if overdose death? And can police force you to take a polygraph? How to permanently delete iPhone data? And maybe the most brazen one, are there luxury jails for rich people in America? I mean, these aren't vague searches. They read like a step-by-step plan. Expert, what does this search history tell you about her mindset?
It reveals a really methodical, cold-blooded approach. She's researching the how, the lethal dose, the why, conferring the insurance payout, the cover-up, deleting data, avoiding polygraphs, and even, disturbingly, planning for the potential consequence looking into luxury jails. It's not just curiosity. It shows calculation, premeditation, a focus entirely on the crime and her own potential situation, with seemingly zero thought for Eric. It's a stark look into a disturbingly pragmatic and, frankly, callous mindset. The digital trail really laid it bare.
And that trail kept going. Police recovered deleted chats from her phone. You know, people think deleting means gone, but often it doesn't. These chats showed her talking directly to a drug dealer identified only as CL, and they could see her purchase history. First, she bought hydrocodone, a strong painkiller, said she had back pain. That was February 11th, 2022. Then, just 2 weeks later, she asked CL for something stronger. And on that same day, February 11th, CL sells her fentanyl for about 850 USD, 30,000 baht. Okay, now the timeline gets incredibly tight and disturbing. Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2022, Kouri allegedly puts fentanyl in Eric's dinner. He gets incredibly sick, but he survives. He even called his family afterwards, told them he thought Kouri had drugged him again, linking it back to Greece in his mind, but she wasn't deterred. Apparently, she was just more determined. Just days later, February 26th, she messages CL again, asks for an even stronger dose of fentanyl, 6 days after getting that stronger dose, March 4th, 2022. Eric Richins is dead. The timing of the drug buys, Eric getting sick the first time, then his death. It lines up perfectly. It formed this undeniable timeline pointing straight at Kouri. So Kouri Richins was arrested, charged with murder, attempted murder for the Valentine's Day incident, and drug possession. The case is still ongoing. And get this, when she found out Eric had secretly transferred all his assets to his sister Kate, Kouri actually sued Kate, trying to get the money even after being charged with his murder. It just added another layer of disbelief to the whole thing. Her focus remains squarely on the money. Public opinion, as you can imagine, turned fiercely against her. She's been called heartless, accused of planning this whole thing for money, then using his death for sympathy and more gain with the book. It's just a level of calculation that's hard to comprehend. And the truly heartbreaking part in all this is the children. They're 3 kids. They're with Eric's family now, who tragically found out Kouri had been poisoning their minds against them, telling the kids Eric's family didn't love them. So now Eric's family is not only raising them, but trying to undo all that psychological damage. It's just devastating for those children.
Connecting this back, it really underscores the profound cruelty involved, doesn't it? But also, critically, the power of digital forensics. Those searches, the deleted chats, those digital breadcrumbs were absolutely vital in piecing together what happened and her intent. Beyond the crime itself, it shows how far someone might go to control everything, even manipulating their own children's feelings about the victim's family. It's a truly disturbing form of abuse that continued even after his death.
It really is. And, you know, while the money motive seems crystal clear, especially with that prenup loophole, those Pinterest searches, the wedding dresses, 6 months before he died.
Oh, yeah.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? Was there another motive mixed in? Maybe a new relationship she wanted, someone else she was planning a future with. It's just another unsettling layer to consider. It's a provocative thought as this case moves forward. So this deep dive has really taken us through a shocking story. The Kouri Richins case, from what looked like a tragedy to what appears to be a meticulously planned murder exposed by her own digital action.
It's definitely a stark reminder. Seemingly perfect lives can hide incredibly dark secrets. And it shows how evidence, whether it's digital or physical, eventually surfaces. The truth often finds a way out.
We really hope this discussion gave you a clearer picture of this incredibly chilling story. If you found this deep dive compelling, please do consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It really helps us bring more stories like this to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Stay safe out there, and we'll catch you next time.